Hey guys, what's up? It's Heidi. So, I've been sitting on a bunch of books for a book haul for like 3 weeks now. So I'm gonna do a really early December book haul, I guess. I have 16 books total, so I'm just gonna jump right into that so I can get the video going. Alright, the first book I got is Dance with Dragons because I haven't read the rest of the series, so might as well get the 5th one too. I've actually been waiting to buy this one specifically because it's the version that matches the rest of my Game of Thrones books, so I'm pretty happy to have this one also, even though I haven't read any of them. But you know, I'll get around to it eventually. The next book I got, most people have already read. I haven't read the second one in this series yet, though. Champion by Marie Lu. I really liked the first one, and I just haven't gotten around to finishing the series yet. Maybe I'll finish it this month, but I got Champion, and this is like a ridiculously pretty cover. I just have to say that. It is so intense and so awesome. I feel like it's a bloody rose on top of being a dark rose, so this is just really cool. And I really like this series and I'm really excited to finish it. The next book I bought to satisfy my little sci-fi nerdy heart, and that is Dune by Frank Herbert. And this is just a very classic sci-fi book. I don't even know what it's about, but I figure I should own it and probably read it because it is such a classic book. So I got it, and hopefully I get around to reading it. This is a whopper of a book. This is like almost 900 pages, so that's a pretty hefty book. Not sure when I'm gonna read this, but it looks good. The next 3 books I got after I went out and saw the movie Ender's Game because I had never finished the series, and I figured I should own them so I can read them. These ones I have a good chance of reading this month, and these are Speak for the Dead, Xenocide, and Children of the Mind by Orson Scott Card. I am aware I always have qualms about buying Orson Scott Card related things because of the kind of person he is, but his stories are really good. So I'm probably gonna read these pretty soon. If you haven't read the Ender's Game series, definitely think about picking it up. It's a really, really good book, and it's a good standalone, even if you don't want to read the rest of them. There's not like a huge cliffhanger on the end, really. The next book I got, I actually checked out from the library, and then I never read it, but it still looked really good, and then I saw it at my bookstore. So this is Monument 14 by Emmy Laybourne. So in this book, the world is like falling to pieces. There are disasters going on and chemical spills and just crazy stuff. And these 14 kids, I'm assuming 14. Yeah, so these 14 kids get locked in a superstore, and I'm guessing it's just about them surviving and stuff in it. But it looked pretty interesting, and the cover is really flippin' awesome. The next book I bought is Shadow and Bone. I have heard lots of mixed reviews about this, but I believe Regan from Peru's Project really likes this book, and I trust her. We seem to like a lot of the same stuff, and I'm pretty sure it takes place in like Russia or something. I'm not actually sure, but it takes place in Russia or someplace like that, and it's just really cool because not a lot of books take place in Russia, and I really love that general area geography-wise for settings, so pretty excited about this. Looks pretty cool. The next book I bought I'm really excited about, and it is The Graveyard book by Neil Gaiman, and this is kind of like The Jungle Book except for the boy grows up in a graveyard, and that's just flippin' awesome. I'm really excited about this. It's Neil Gaiman, so you know, can't go wrong with that. And I'm just very excited about this book. It just looks so interesting. Also, I'm pretty sure that's a weeping angel on the cover. There's really intense pictures in this, and I love books with illustrations. They're really interesting, and they just add a lot to the story. So I'm really excited about this book. The next book I bought is second to a book that I read really recently and really loved, and that is Glass by Ellen Hopkins. And this is the sequel to Crank, which I read, was it only October? I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. But if you're not aware, she writes all of her books in like a freestyle poetry form, and it's really interesting. Sometimes it takes a couple pages to get into the flow of it, but once you get into it, they're really, really good. The next book I got is a book that everybody has been loving and raving about lately, and I'm really excited to read it because I've heard so many good things about this author. That is More Than This by Patrick Ness, and it's got the little door. This is about a boy who wakes up and he remembers dying. So that's a problem. And it looks really good. I've heard so many good things about his writing, and this is like literally one of the coolest books I own. I think it just looks so awesome. The next book I got, I'm gonna say Regan at Prue's Project again. Recommended this? Somebody recommended it and said it's up there with The Book Thief literary wise, and that is The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. And this book is about cloning, and in this world where there are clones, but clones are treated as like second-class citizens, and it's kind of about the social struggle and stuff like that with this, and I think it's from the point of view of a clone, which is pretty interesting. I really like books that are written in the type of style that's higher level reading, I guess I would say, but kind of has the deeper meaning behind it, and so I'm really interested in reading this. This is not the cover I wanted, unfortunately, but I have it now. If I ever find the cover that I do want, which is really cool if you haven't seen it, it's black and it's got like this red distorted kind of scorpion on it instead of white. I don't know, I like the darker looking cover, but if I ever find that cover then I will replace this one. The next book I got is Orange is the New Black, and this has been gaining a lot of popularity because it became a TV show on Netflix. And this is a memoir, which I really love memoirs. I don't read a whole lot of them, but every time I read one I flippin' love them. They're so interesting. I love reading stories from people's points of view. But if you haven't heard about this yet, it is about a woman who a few years, like 10 years ago or something, got caught up in all this drug deal stuff with her boyfriend or husband, and she broke it off, and 10 years later they came after her and they sent her to prison for a year, and this is about her life in a women's prison for the year. And it's like, if that doesn't sound interesting to you, I don't know what would. But it was after like she got her life together and stuff, so I'm really interested in reading this. The next book I got because it was recommended to me by this girl at the bookstore who's really cool, and she reads like 1 billion books a year. But she recommended this to me and said it was really good, so I decided to pick it up, and it's Enclave by Ann Aguirre. I haven't heard a whole lot about this book lately on the booktube community, but it looks pretty interesting. Sorry the cover's so shiny. It doesn't really show up very well on camera, but this looks pretty interesting. It's, you know, post-apocalyptic kind of thing, and in this book you don't even get a name until you turn 15, and you're trained to be either a breeder, builder, or a hunter, and you can tell who they are by how many scars they have, and this just seems really dark and dystopian-y and pretty awesome. I don't know where the story is gonna go exactly, if it's gonna be like revolution-y or just adventure-y, but it looks pretty good, and I know it's like a trilogy or a series at least, because one of them just came out pretty recently, so I'm pretty excited to read this. The next 2 books I got are really big and hefty books. The first one I got is Under the Dome by Stephen King, and this is a massive book. This comes in at a whopping 1,072 pages. I think it's officially the biggest fiction book that I own, and this looks pretty interesting. I did enjoy reading Carrie quite a bit, and this is kind of sci-fi-ish and stuff, and it just looks really interesting, so I decided to pick it up. Might take me a little bit to read, but it looks really interesting nonetheless. So the last book I got wasn't really for necessarily reading. I'm sure I'll read it at some point, but it's kind of a collection of books by one of my favorite authors ever, and that is The Complete Works of Edgar Allan Poe. Massive book. I got it for $8. I love Edgar Allan Poe's books. My car is named after Lenore and the Raven. His stories are so creepy and so interesting, but this isn't quite as cool as the Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition, but this one's a lot cheaper, and the Raven is on the front, and that's really cool. It's probably one of my favorite stories by him, but I'll probably read through this just, you know, if I want to read a little short story poem kind of thing. but I probably won't read this all at once. So if you haven't read any of his stuff, you probably should, just to see if you like him. He's not for everybody. He is, like I said, kind of creepy. I do really love Edgar Allan Poe, so I do recommend picking him up if you haven't read him yet. So that is all of the books that I bought in November that I haven't shown you yet. So let me know down in the comments if you've read any of those books, or if you have any thoughts on these books, or if you want to read any of them, or anything else you want to say about books. I welcome your comments. Sorry I'm a little lack of energy, but I'm getting back up on my feet, you guys. Just been really sick. Don't get sick. It's terrible. I really don't recommend it. So give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you like me, and I will see you next time, guys. Bye.